Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for joining me this week. So this week I'm going to be talking about inquiry and the inquiry continuum, the inquiry process continuum, and look at an activity perhaps that you could do with other teachers, your colleagues, to unpack the inquiry-based learning continuum. So if you're interested in having a look at all the different types of inquiry on the continuum, then please keep on watching. Okay, so I was working with some wonderful teachers in Sydney during the summer, and it was their winter, and we were unpacking the inquiry process continuum. So we know that the inquiry is a stance, it's a philosophy, it's an environment that we want to encourage. However, in that philosophy, there are different levels or types of inquiry. So let me just go through. I'm going to share the resource that I built using Manus, and then let's have a look. Okay, so I created this with Manus. It's a little interactive, and I talk about more teacher-led explicit direct instruction, which is completely teacher-led. And then here on the other end of the continuum, it's more student-led, where it's completely led by students, and we call that open inquiry. And then in between explicit direct instruction, open inquiry, we may be adding more or less scaffolding. Now, in structured inquiry, it's quite heavily scaffolded. Students perhaps are not used to exploring concepts on their own. And I think a lot of the time in, let's say, grades 11 and 12, your matriculation years for AP or for the diploma program, you'd be using quite a structured approach because you've got a lot of content to get through, but you still want students to explore that content. Guided is less structure, of course, or there's absolutely less prompting and scaffolding. But rather than tell you the definitions of each of them, which I've just done, here are some specific examples. So teachers in Sydney, I asked them to drag and drop, but I also wanted to give them some examples that were kind of, because it's a continuum, that were kind of in between. It could be structured, it could be guided, because it's a continuum, right? It's not they're not perfectly in boxes. So let's have a look at some of them. Let's look at this first English one. So the teacher explicitly teaches the structure of persuasive essay. Using a model text or screen, she annotates the hook, claim, evidence, and call to action in a different color for each element. Students label the same features in a second model text before writing their own. I would say that's explicit direct instruction. Right, now let's go to some of the discuss ones. I'm going to look at a maths example, and they're all graded here. And it's kindergarten up to grade 12. So you can use this with all colleagues. I'll share the link in the comment section below, and you can actually also check the answers, but remember some of them are in between some of the categories. So let's look at the maths one. The teacher asks, what happens to the graph of y equals x squared when you change the value of a in y equals ax squared? Students are given a structured worksheet guiding them through a series of GeoGebra explorations. They record observations and write a generalization in their own words. So that's a concept-based philosophy. Now, I would say that's probably pretty structured, right? But it could be guided depending on the scaffolding and the prompts that you're giving students. Okay, let's look at one more for early years. So early years, let's look at the discuss one. The teacher poses the question, how do animals stay safe? Students choose an animal they are curious about, look through picture books and simple websites, draw what they find, and share with the class. The teacher asks, why do you think the hedgehog has spines? What does that remind you of? Guiding conceptual thinking without giving the answer. Now, I would say that that's probably more guided, right? That's guided because it's allowing students to go and explore without a lot of structure, but it could be structured if the teacher gave some more guidance here. Okay, so You can see I've only got 15 cards. They're all kindergarten up to grade 12, all different subject areas, some are cross curricular. So I really hope you find this tool useful. Okay, so that was a little inquiry process continuum activity that you could use with your colleagues to try and unpack the different levels of inquiry. Ultimately, there are a few myths about inquiry. We don't always want to have open inquiry where students are just openly exploring whatever they want to explore. It would be lovely if they could do that, and we should still provide opportunities for our students to do that in the curriculum. But we do have content to get through, especially I think in the grades 11 and 12 stages. And so, how do we make this content more engaging? How do we still cultivate curiosity, students' curiosity with the content that we have to work with? So, I'll put the link in the comment section below. I hope you found this useful, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.